बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि.
The 8th International Tipitaka Chanting was held in Bodh Gaya, India from the 2nd to the 12th of December 2012. Bodh Gaya is the most sacred place in the world for Buddhists. It is here that the Buddha was enlightened as he meditated under the holy Bodhi tree in 528 BCE. The Tipitaka, or three baskets of the wisdom of the Buddha, are the earliest extant Buddhist canon. The chanting of the Tipitaka is an ancient tradition. At Bodh Gaya, it would have been done on a daily basis for 1,500 years, up till the 13th century when the great temple was abandoned. The Light of Buddha Dharma Foundation have revived this ancient tradition after a gap of 700 years.
Venerable Sangha Rajas from the Theravada world.
This is the 8th annual event of the chanting organized by the foundation.
Venerable Fra Chromacity is like in the ceremony Lem, Sayadaw, and Venerable Yu Nyaninda. To Mrs. Wangmo Dixie,
And we have four things that we're doing. And the first one, of course, is to bring the monks to India, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But the second thing we've been doing is installing Dharma bells and trying to make public conveniences and trying to improve the amenities in the Buddhist sites of pilgrimage. An example is behind us, this bell here, which was installed, I think, it was 2006, I think, wasn't it? 2006, I think. And it's a great Dharma bell. It's a 5-ton bronze bell. And indeed, it's rung every morning and evening. And you can hear it from miles around us. It's a wonderful thing. It's an extraordinary fact about the land here. That bell has a 8-foot wide foundation. And when we dug the foundation down 8 feet, we found 32 Buddha statues, which of course were given to the local museum here in Bodh Gaya. But it shows you what's under our feet. Everywhere you walk here, there are just thousands and thousands and thousands of statues, because Bodh Gaya has been an international center of pilgrimage for thousands of years. Really, from the time of the parinirvana of the Buddha, right up until the 13th century, there were Buddhists coming from all over the Buddhist world, all over Southeast Asia to Bodh Gaya. And so this place is really steeped in history. It's an extraordinary fact.
And I would say that there's such great merit in these kinds of activities that are being held here in Bodh Gaya on this sacred land. And so one of our great wishes is that that merit be transferred here on this soil to the Indian people, because this is where the blessings will radiate from. We believe it came from here. All the Buddhas are enlightened under this sacred Bodhi tree and will be in the future. So there is something very auspicious, something very sacred that cannot be transferred in any other place in the world. This is the only place in the whole world that this will take place.
As its primary sponsor, are organizing the 8th International Tipitaka Chanting Ceremony at Bodh Gaya.
Chanting the Tipitaka is an ancient tradition. In Buddha's time, there was no writing, so all of the monks would learn what the Buddha taught through chanting the teachings. And indeed, if you look at the Tipitaka or any one of the ancient Buddhist writings, you can see they're designed for rhyming speech. They're actually designed to be recited. And the Tipitaka was only written down in the 1st century, so for 400 or 500 years it was chanted all the time. And here in Bodh Gaya there was a Sri Lankan vihara, which is a little bit behind us, about 30 or 40 yards behind us. There's a Sri Lankan vihara under the ground. And there they chanted the Tipitaka every day for over 1,000 years. Well, in 2006, on the anniversary of the 2,550th Buddha Jayanti, it was decided to do a one-off Tipitaka chanting here in Bodh Gaya. But it was so successful that on the basis of that, the elders, all the elders from the temples here in Bodh Gaya got together and decided to form a council called the International Tipitaka Chanting Council. And that council has now been the supervising body for an annual chanting event, which is now in its 8th year. And like the Buddha Dharma Foundation, which I run with my wife here, Wang Mo, this foundation is the primary sponsor of the event. But of course, it's a huge international event now. We're a small part of it, really. It's now got 1,500 monks coming from 10 countries and about another 1,000 lay people. So it's really a major gathering. We have 9 languages now chanting the Tipitaka. So this is a very ancient tradition to have the Tipitaka chanted in different languages. It's all the Pali written words, but it's in Vietnamese script or in Devanagari script or in Roman script or whatever, Thai script, and so it all sounds completely different. And this is a very ancient tradition and very much in the traditions of Buddhism.
A national treasure of Myanmar are the Tipitaka Dharas. Those who know the thousands of verses of the entire Tipitaka by heart. 3 Tipitaka Dharas had come to Bodh Gaya for the 8th International Chanting of the sacred texts. The Buddha's teachings are for the peace of the world. That is why this chanting is very important. We should not forget these teachings. We need to chant this Tipitaka from time to time. The Tipitaka is in 14 volumes or books. So it takes at least 3 years to memorize the whole. There are 30 monks in Myanmar who know the Tipitaka by heart. All over Myanmar, there are monasteries, pagodas and monks. Many people go to those pagodas and listen to the Dhamma. Then they follow this Dhamma. Because of Dhamma, the people are very polite. There is harmony and honesty. This is a very beautiful culture, the Buddhist culture of Myanmar. We pay respect to the Buddha's teachings when we chant his own words. Thus, we remember his teachings again and again. And then we can follow his teachings. We can practice his teachings. The world also recognizes that this place is the holiest place of the world. So people who live in Bodh Gaya should be proud of this. He is extremely happy to be here. He has been here 5 times. It is very good to chant the Tipitaka every year. Owing to the chanting of the Tipitaka, all of India will be peaceful and happy. The Tripitaka guides us to promote our morality. We should follow the morals taught here and encourage all others to follow them too. All objects around us are impermanent. Our mind itself is changing in every moment. So we have to observe ourselves. We have also to ask others to observe the impermanence of all objects and the ever-changing nature of the mind. We have to refrain from mental and physical violation. We should not cheat others, tell lies, nor disturb others or use harsh language. We have to observe these practices carefully. We have to study Pali since childhood. We do a careful study of the grammar. That is why the meaning of the Burmese translation is correct. If somebody sees the Burmese translation, he or she understands the real meaning of the Pali words. Myanmar Buddhist culture depends upon the Buddha's teachings, and Buddhism comes from India. So Burmese culture depends on Indian culture. That is why India's culture and Myanmar culture are very close. As long as the people follow the Buddha's teachings, the teachings remain alive. If the people do not follow his teachings, they will disappear.
When Sri Lanka received Buddhism from India, that is way back in 3rd century BC. So the relationship with Mahabodhi tree is centuries old. In fact, it is more than 2000 years old. When Buddhism was first introduced to Sri Lanka officially by the missionary group led by Arahant Mahinda, the son of Emperor Ashok, Arahant Mahinda also invited his sister, it is Arahant Sangamita, to come to Sri Lanka along with the sapling of Bodhi tree. And that Bodhi tree, the very sapling of that Bodhi tree, was planted in Anuradhapura, Nandana Park. And that has been preserved and treasured by the Buddhists in Sri Lanka, along with the kings and the monks and also the general common public. And it's important that there have been completely dedicated groups of people towards the protection of this Bodhi tree. That is the history.
According to our traditional system and the historical facts, there are many relationships between the Sri Lanka and the India, especially Buddhism. The Bodhi tree, also the sacred things from come to India to Sri Lanka.
This is the center of the world. This is the center of the world peace. The place where the message of non-violence was delivered to the whole world. And Buddha attained the enlightenment right here under this Bodhi tree. And we from all over the world come to India to venerate this place. And I think there is no other place that is so much sacred to us than this place.
All the Burmese, normally they must come here. The people do believe when they saw the Bodhi tree and they saw like as a alive Buddha. So that's why so many kings, every time we do believe to see, pay worship to Buddha Gaya.
There is not any accident why we are doing the ceremony here under the Bodhi tree. It is done with all full intentions because we know that this is the most sacred place on earth. There is no doubt in our hearts and minds that this is the place. And as you all know, the previous Buddhas attained their awakening here under the sacred Bodhi tree, and the future Buddhas will also awaken under this sacred Bodhi tree. So the power and the blessings of this land are truly great and cannot be forgotten. We are coming from afar to pay respect to the original motherland where it all began. These great blessings have a right to be held in the hands and in the hearts of the original descendants of the Indian people, and may they be the ones to radiate these great blessings in all directions for world peace.
Last year when I came, I found it was truly amazing spiritual experience, because 9 countries representing Buddhism, they all gathered here, monks and nuns and also the lay devotees, and they were all united as a cohesive unit.
As a Buddhist, he takes great pleasure in being at Bodh Gaya. Ever since he grew up in Thailand, he felt a deep connection with India, the land of the Buddha.
When we came here and when we do this Tipitaka chanting, we really see like as we are living together with the Buddha, and we're living together with the Dhamma, and together with the Sangha, all the Sangha.
This is my first time to participate in this chanting ceremony. I can't believe it, just like a miracle. Lot of bhikkhus are participating in this program. All over sitting and they are praying for the comfort of the peace all over the world.
He said, because of Tipitaka chanting, we all the members of Theravada Buddhism, all our sanghas gathering here, not only sanghas, but also the lay community also, we gathering here and walk together, where this kinds of potential energy we have to get at the sacred place.
He says that this is the first time that he could come to India and to Bodh Gaya. Since he was a young monk, he used to read in the Pali Sutras about Uruvela and about all the places where the Buddha visited. But this is the first time he could see such a place. He feels so happy. The feeling cannot be described in words. When I see how many monks are coming from different countries to attend the Tipitaka chanting, I feel that the Buddha has come here. I am very happy here.
Some have traveled over 40 hours, train plus 20 hours on the flight, from all different directions, because this is a sacred place, the most sacred place on earth. There have been many times that we have traveled afar to these Southeast Asian countries with one message: please come to Bodh Gaya, please come back to the most sacred place on earth. They know that. It doesn't take much convincing. They know that this is the place to be, and the timing is right. I have traveled in many different contexts. I've traveled to caves, I've traveled to temples in many different countries, and there's a feeling among the senior monks that this is the time for us to pray, to come together back to Bodh Gaya. So that kind of message is very powerful when we all come together under one umbrella with one message, a message of peace, a message of inner harmony, and that transcends every national boundary. That transcends every ism. That transcends even conventional truth. It is the truth for humanity. It's a universal truth. When we come together and embrace what loving kindness is, humanity to humanity, that is what we want to achieve those perfections. We have so many defilements, but if we can try to purify and become like a noble one that the Buddha spoke of in his Sangha, like an Arya Sangha. The Arya Sangha came from here and should be returned back.
You've only got to dig a hole in the ground and you're going to find thousands of statues. This is an archaeological field of extraordinary wealth, only partially excavated, because people came here in their thousands. And not just common people, kings and emperors and conquerors, you can't imagine, all came to Bodh Gaya from the time of the enlightenment of the Buddha right through until the 13th century. And what's happening now, as the interest in Buddhist pilgrimage reawakens, is we're seeing the same phenomenon. Thousands upon thousands of people coming back, to the point now where in a vast country like India, 1 in 6 of the visitors to India come to Bodh Gaya. So you can imagine what's happening. If you spend half an hour under the Bodhi tree, you will see Buddhists from all over the world practicing in their unique way. And this is a very unique characteristic of Buddhism. It's extremely tolerant. We have a strategy here for helping to rebuild the Buddhist culture of India. Remember, India was a predominantly Buddhist country for at least 1,000 years, a hugely important period in its history, when India was the wealthiest country in the world, where Patna was the largest city in the world. You know, Patna was 6 times bigger than Rome. India as a country is an extraordinary phenomenon in the world world's largest democracy, incredibly diverse, far more diverse than any other country in the world, yet with this unifying spiritual bedrock underneath it all. Scratch an Indian, you can have a spiritual discussion. It's absolutely extraordinary. It doesn't matter who you meet, taxi driver to a cabinet minister. Absolutely universal situation. Indian people have a very deep instinct for the spiritual search in mankind. It's a really, really profound intuition that belongs uniquely, I think, to Indian people. Buddhism thrives when people are educated, because it's a wisdom tradition. It's not a tradition that says, believe in this and you will go to heaven. So we feel very strongly that time for Buddhism is back. The benefit of the Buddhist culture is that Buddhism promotes tolerance, it promotes learning, it promotes spirituality in collaboration with technical progress, rather than spirituality standing against technical progress, which has been such a problem as the world modernizes. And it's trying to get those two forces side by side that is the secret to the success of mankind. So we feel very strongly that this work, whilst it is religious in nature, actually has a much larger implication, both spiritually and also culturally.
The Theravada tradition had never gathered as one body for a religious function before this event under the Bodhi tree. This is highly auspicious and a sign of the importance that all the Southeast Asian countries give to India as the motherland of their tradition. It unifies them under one umbrella, which breaks the barriers of national politics and of different monastic traditions. This great event has been supported by many Sangha Rajas and Sangha Nayakas. Large numbers of monks from 10 countries have gathered at the Mahabodhi temple.
Our most venerables are all
This has also resulted in a substantial increase of visitors on religious pilgrimage to Bodh Gaya, as well as to the other sites of the Buddha. The message of the Buddha is bringing together so many to leave behind the turmoil and confusion of the material world, to find peace at the holy site of Bodh Gaya.
Buddham saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami, buddham saranam gacchami.